What's up, guys? And in today's video, we have a very special guest by the name of Liam Bradshaw. I'm sure you guys know him, and if you don't, I'm going to give him a second to just introduce himself. So, Liam, the floor is yours.
Yes. Farid, thank you very much for having me on the show, on the video today, bro. As Farid said, my name is Liam Bradshaw. I am 21 from Cape Town, South Africa, and I do e-commerce. I build e-commerce brands, currently building a portfolio of e-com brands. Been in the space for about 3, 4 years now. So yeah, I've learned a thing or two over that time. And yeah, overall just focus on becoming the best optimal version of myself in all aspects of life. So that's how I kind of sum up myself, bro.
Interesting. And Liam, how did you get started on your journey in terms of getting into ecom? Because I know personally like how you got started, but I'm sure like some people watching this don't know how you got started. And also, from the place that you're from, Cape Town, I'm sure there's not a lot of people that have, done ecom in the way that you've done it. So yeah, I mean, I'm just curious to find that out.
Sure, man. So I've always been relatively entrepreneurial. I would say I've always kind of followed my natural curiosity. So I was always the kid that was trying new things. I ran a YouTube channel when I was very young. I have a bunch of my old videos up if anyone wants to go and, take a look and roast me in the comments. But yeah, I think that kind of kickstarted my journey really when I got into YouTube because it forced me to learn a skill and get good at a skill and ultimately get a reward for it. And back in the day, the reward was obviously likes, views, subscribers, attention, people at school telling me that they enjoyed my videos. But I would say that kind of flowed into me just learning new things. So I was fortunate enough to join a Discord server, I believe, actually, when I was around grade 9, grade 10, so like 14, 15 years old, maybe around 16 years old. And it was by a guy called Pete Fogden, who's actually a good friend of mine right now. And he had basically a small Discord server of a bunch of entrepreneurs, a bunch of guys that were trying to make money in South Africa. And I guess that kind of originally opened up my eyes to what was possible out there. I saw guys there making like a couple 100,000 rand a month, 5, 10, $15,000, and I was like mind blown. But anyway, at that point in time, I was actually running a creative agency just off the back of my skill set that I learned originally from editing my own YouTube videos. And I was set on the fact that I wanted to run a marketing agency because I saw other guys in that Discord doing it. And that obviously gave me the confidence and the proof of concept and the business model. But a friend of mine came to me one day and he said, bro, we need to get into e-com, we need to get into drop shipping. And this was 2021, maybe around the middle towards the end of 2021. I just told him, I was like, no, bro, like it's saturated. Like there's too many people doing e-com right now. There's too many people doing drop shipping. It's gonna be like impossible. We should start a marketing agency instead. Anyway, a couple weeks went by and he eventually convinced me to start it. So I'd go over to his house every weekend. We would quickly put together a store, would smoke weed, would go to sleep, and would wake up and would see if we had any sales. So obviously a very bad habit, but that's honestly what drove me in the beginning. The fact that I knew I would get a reward after I did the work. So that's why also like goal setting is so important. Like if you know you're gonna get a specific goal or a specific outcome, after doing a specific input, it's only going to drive you to actually get it done so that you can achieve that thing, which is going to give you dopamine. But the key is also being detached from the reward, which I didn't know back then, but it motivated me to show up every day and do the work. Anyway, one day, after testing a couple of products, we did our routine. We put together the store, we threw up an ad, we smoked weed, we went to bed, and I woke up the next morning and we had done like $1,000 overnight in sales. And for anyone from South Africa, like that's pretty good money. Like we made like 15,000 Rand profit overnight. And that's like what a lot of teachers earn. So I walked into school feeling like an absolute legend. I just made, $1,000 overnight. But anyways, that's what originally gave me the proof of concept. And the rest is history from then, man. Tested a bunch of products in high school, started making some decent cash in high school, eventually stopped ecom and I tried to pursue the marketing agency. It didn't quite work out for me. Then I got into high ticket sales, built up some capital, and then around the end of 2023, October 2023, I rolled over all of my capital into ecom, and within a month I was making like $20,000 in profit. And I've been doing ecom ever since then.
Really, that's such an interesting story. I mean, how did it feel when you first walked into class and you made $1,000? And like that's what people make in the month. Some people make in the month. I mean, how did that feel, that realization that, oh, I can actually make money online?
Dude, it was crazy, man. I
Hmm.
mean, the confidence boost that it gave me alone was like unmatched, man. I don't think I've ever felt that confident to this day. I was
Hmm.
sitting there not caring what the teacher was saying whatsoever because not even from an egotistical point of view, but I just knew that there was a whole other world of possibility out there of making money, you know? This teacher who was standing in front of me, nothing against them. I love teachers and, I had a good experience with teachers in high school, but I literally made what they would spend 30 or like 25 days of their month to make. None of them were happy, and I literally made that overnight by 3, 4 hours of work, smoking weed, and then going to bed, and then I had that profit. I was showing my friends, I was showing my girlfriend at the time. Dude, I was over the moon, man. But it really just gave me that. What I will say, the most impactful thing that it had for me was giving me the confidence that I can make money because it gave me the proof of concept. It showed me that if I can do that once, I can do it again, I can do it again, I can do it again, I can do it again. And I think that's a thing that a lot of people lack is that they don't have the confidence because they've never truly seen it. They've never truly felt how it feels. Now, obviously, a story like that is great. I was lucky enough to make that money overnight and see it firsthand for myself. But if people can't do that for themselves, so they haven't quite done that yet, the easiest way is to just surround yourself with other people that are doing that, or even indirectly, you know? So go to nice restaurants, go to nice places, surround yourself with money, like really immerse yourself into that world if that's your goal, of course, because that's what's going to visually that's what's going to like the visual is going to make the connect in your brain from where you are right now to where you can be.
Course, of course. And what limiting beliefs did it shatter around making money for you? Like, I'm sure, like, before you even started, you had a ton of limiting beliefs, but like making that first dollar, I'm sure, like, it shattered that completely. And even till today, I'm sure there's still some things that you see from the past self that of yourself that, you've learned a lot from. So just asking around that. What limiting beliefs do you have currently about money, if at all, at this stage versus the ones that you had before?
Yeah. So I'll go into the ones that I had before. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't grow up with an abundance of money. I'm not saying that to say poor me. I'm grateful for it at the end of the day. It taught me the value of
Mm-hmm.
money. It gave me a indescribable desire to actually make money, which a lot of people just don't have. People that grow up comfortable arguably have it the worst because they have no reason to actually be better. So I'm very grateful that I didn't have an abundance of money growing up. But of course, that situation definitely did lead to me having a scarcity mindset. Hearing my parents complain about money, hearing them complain about the fact that they were in debt, that I thought we were going to go homeless. Like that puts fear in a child that nobody really wants to go through. You know, and that first little time that I made that little bit of money, which is a lot of money, but in comparison now it's like a little bit of money, which I'm really grateful to say, is yeah, it shattered that belief completely because like I said, like I just put together a simple store and I had, $1,000 just flow into my bank account and into my possession. That showed me that money is abundant. Money is everywhere. Like it wasn't even a product that people needed. It wasn't even solving a massive pain point. It was just something that was pretty cool and desirable. And people were willing to give away their hard-earned cash to me, to some random kid that was providing them with a product that, they might like. So that was really the one thing. It's just showing me that money truly is abundant. That shit is printed on a daily basis and there's an infinite amount flowing. So that also like for people that have scarcity mindsets right now, once you break that, you'll start to realize that you're so much more inclined to be happy for other people's success because they're not taking anything away from you. When you realize that money is infinite, you realize that there's a big ass pie for us all to eat from. This big ass pie for us all to take pieces from. So you realize that, your mind gets open to the fact that there's so much money to make and everyone's success is valid and they're not taking anything away from you. I would say that the limiting beliefs that I have around money now
Mm-hmm.
honestly comes down to the importance of money. because when you get to a certain point where all your needs are covered, you're not operating out of a place of desperation anymore. You realize that yes, you could set these big obnoxious goals to make a lot of money, but what is that actually going to do for you? Is the goal to get a bigger number in your bank account, or do you want to shift that goal to rather having impact, having fulfillment, positively impacting the people around you? Then if you follow that fulfillment rather, and that path to that goal rather, the money is going to naturally flow, because money is up and down. It's literally an energy that flows up and down, in and out, and you cannot be attached to it, because then your emotions are going to be going like this, up and down, up and down, up and down. So that's kind of how my perspective has changed on money now. I wouldn't say it's even a limiting belief, but I would say it's a maybe a limiting factor in my drive to make a bunch of money, if that makes sense. Because it's something that I kind of need to figure out for myself. It's like, what do I actually want that money for?
Of course. And when you started out, like I'm just curious around this. Why did you start doing ecom specifically like in South Africa, or was it just straight in other parts or other regions in the world?
Yeah, so I actually originally started in the US, so like worldwide
Mm-hmm,
actually, selling in USD, but I was using PayPal as a payment processor, which wasn't
mm-hmm,
efficient whatsoever.
mm-hmm,
And then yeah, after a few stores, I came to the South African market,
mm-hmm.
and yeah, the whole of high school I was running in the South African market. So I
Oh
was doing
wow.
like 200,000 rand months and stuff like that in the South African market. And then yeah, end
In
of 2023 when I went all in with it, I went worldwide.
Interesting. What made you want to go or start off with North America? Was it just the currency, or was it something that you had learned that this specific market is where you should be targeting, if that makes sense?
Yeah, man, to be honest, I'm not even sure. I don't really remember. I think that
Mm-hmm.
we were just throwing shit at the wall, and like that's just what we ended up going with, if I'm honest.
Of course, of course. And what you just said now, like I'm sure you tried a lot of things in terms of, before you got this success in ecom. I mean, I know you mentioned that you were doing high ticket sales. How did you get into high ticket sales, and then from high ticket sales into ecom, in that specific realm?
For sure, man. So yeah, I mean, that's one thing that I've done very well is I've been able to transition my efforts into different things very smoothly,
Mm-hmm.
in the way where it's not giving up, but it's more just identifying that my skill set and my current skill set and my opportunity might be higher, and my skill set might be better applied if I shift into this new thing. So at that point in time, I was running a marketing agency, doing cold calling, trying to get clients for like 2, 3 months. And unfortunately, I got pretty much no clients. I couldn't get it off the ground. Opened up Instagram one day, started scrolling, and I saw someone that I was following was looking for a high ticket closer. Okay, that was cool. Didn't even quite know what it was. Kept scrolling. Saw another person I follow was also looking for a high ticket closer. So I was like, okay, damn, like let me just apply to both of these. And yeah, both of them got back to me and hopped on a few interviews. And then yeah, just ended up landing one of the roles, bro. Just came into it with confidence, told them I'd been closing for my own marketing agency for the past like 2, 3 months, taking sales calls. My close rate was 50%, whatever. Like honestly, just lied. But I came in with confidence, and then I landed the role. And then I was like, damn, okay, now I'm forced to get good at sales. So that night, bought a sales course, bought a bunch of sales books, and I just started learning, bro. Like I put myself in an uncomfortable situation where I had a responsibility, and I was forced to get good at the skill set that I needed to provide. And yeah, then I
Of
did that for
course.
about 6 months, made some good cash, and then we rolled over into ecom again.
Course. And what skills do you find now that were, super important in terms of, you building the ecom brands and building the, things that you are building today that you stacked over time through doing all those different things? From back in high school when you were just starting with ecom to now doing high ticket sales and also the marketing agency. What skills were you able to stack, and how did you do it? Did you teach yourself in terms of, you being self-taught in that aspect? And how are those skills helping you or serving you today?
Yeah, bro. I mean, there's so many. If we just take a look at the business models that I tried, that gave me
Mm-hmm.
skills. I mean, I used to run a creative agency, so that helped me to be able to put visuals together. and do it in a way where it's actually visually appealing. A lot of people can edit stuff, but it doesn't actually flow nicely, and it doesn't matter that you can chop it up. If it doesn't flow nicely, you can't edit. So that's number one. Editing stuff that enabled me to be able to edit ads when I got into ecom eventually as well. Then getting into ecom for the first time helped me to build websites. And then obviously the creative agency transcended into that as well when it comes to design and making stuff look good. Then when I started building a marketing agency, I learned funnels. I learned how to put together a good funnel, how to run a service-based ad, how to media buy. So I had to actually get good at Facebook ads because that's also the service that I was providing for people. So I was in the ad account testing different things. That obviously also stemmed from when I first started in ecom too. So they've really all come together. And then when I got into sales, I had to get confident with speaking. I had to learn how to influence people, how to use tonality to lead people along a certain emotion, how to like, yeah, just overall influence people. And then that sales kind of translated back into ecom again because I got really deep into how to actually evoke a pain point and then provide my solution, which back then was a service when I was doing sales, but in ecom is a product as the thing that's going to take them from point A to point B.
Sure. Have you read any marketing or psychology books at all or no?
Yeah, yeah, I have. So I mean, if we go sales specific books, The Way of the
Mm-hmm.
Wolf by Jordan
Mm-hmm.
Belfort is really good in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
The Art of Creating Ads at Scale, insane book when it comes to marketing. Um, what's that other book? Do you know that book by Sabri Subi?
No, I don't, unfortunately.
He's got a
What
really
is
good
it?
book. I'm not sure what it's called now, but Sabri
Mm-hmm.
Subi's book. I think he's only got one book. Also,
Mm-hmm.
just an insane book when it comes to funnels and stuff like that.
Okay.
But yeah, I've read a couple books, bro. How to Win Friends and Influence People. Very good when it
Think
comes to, huh?
Think and Grow Rich. Have you heard of that one?
Of course, I've heard of it. Yeah, I haven't personally read it though.
Really?
No,
Okay, okay, okay. And yeah, so those are the books that you have read, and they've helped you in terms of, sales and also the e-com side of things, correct?
yes.
Okay, cool. So my question now is, how important is people along your journey? Because I know that we connected way back before you even started posting a lot. I think was it before you started posting or no?
I think it was after, bro. I started posting in
Oh,
the last year, so
yeah. So
not
so
sure when
it's
we
short.
connected. I still don't know.
Oh, yeah. So it's
I think we
short,
connected at
short.
the end of last year, like November, around
End of
then.
last year? Was it not beginning?
I think it was after I joined A Players Club.
Oh, but we spoke before that, right?
No,
What? For real?
no, I don't think so, bro.
Crazy. Okay. Okay, that's cool. So for you, how important has community been in terms of your journey as well, and having people or basically the right people that have ultimately helped you along your journey? How important has that been for you?
Community or people?
Both.
Okay, so I think I'll go into people first because
Mm-hmm.
yeah, while the people around you is your community,
Mm-hmm.
there's obviously different ways of looking at people.
Mm-hmm.
Firstly, people are a form of leverage, right? So
Mm-hmm.
whether they're actually doing a specific service for you or they're just a figure in your life which you're using to leverage your mindset. And I'm not saying
Mm-hmm.
using in a bad way or like a exploitative way. It's
Mm-hmm.
everyone we have around us is there for a reason, and they're doing something in our brain which is positive. Otherwise, we won't
Mm-hmm.
have them around, or we will have them around, but we'll feel resistance and we won't feel good after we're around them. So people are literally a form of leverage. There's different forms of leverage like money, labor, software, things like that, right? So especially in my business, people have been an absolute game changer. I'm extremely grateful to have a killer team that takes care of the majority of the heavy lifting in my business so that I can really just focus on leading it forward, the strategy, and implementing new things and new systems. So it's really a simple thing of you cannot do everything yourself. And it's like if you have like if you're jumping on, okay, I'm trying to think scientifically how to explain leverage right now, but I'm not a scientist, bro. But it's like if you have a super long lever, it's gonna make your leverage higher, right? Your leverage can be higher by just having more people, but the right people will make that lever even longer. So I've seen many times where you have the wrong people you have the right people in the wrong places. And that's happened in my businesses as well. I've been placed in the wrong places. I'm not going to name names, but I've been in a situation where I was building a brand with someone, and we were both founders. We were both in founder mode. So while us working together was great, and we both have our skill sets, it just didn't flow naturally because the founder, I came in as a CEO, but the founder needed someone which was going to be an operator, be good at just sitting at the desk, leading people, following what he says, really just sticking to the vision and not really thinking outside of the box, running around just trying to fix shit, put out fires, manage a team, whatever it may be. But I was in founder mode, so I was trying to be more of a visionary, but then that led to the operational tasks being like we were lacking operational tasks. And that is just a mismatch of people. So that's an example where you need to put the right person in the right place, you know, in your business.
Of
So yeah,
course.
having
And
more people giving you more hands, it's giving you more leverage, and it's helping you get shit done fast. If you want to get closer to God and acting like God, you need to make the time that you think about something to it getting done faster, because God can think and get it done in a second.
of course, of course. And what are the things that you look for when you're hiring a team out? Are there specific things that you've learned along your journey what not to look for?
Yeah, I would say for one, it's I would say the things that I do look for is strong work ethic
Hmm.
and having a willingness to learn
Hmm.
and to be led as well. If you have someone that's stuck in their ways, they're probably not going to be a good employee. You know, you need someone
Hmm.
that's open to learn, that's obviously skilled, and they have a strong work ethic. There's been many times where I've hopped on interviews with people and I ask them, "Hey, bro, how's your day going?" And they'll be like, yeah, good man. I'm just a little tired. Long day. Boom, instant. Like it's not gonna work out because if you
Hmm.
ask me how my day is, no matter how my day is going, I'm gonna tell you my day is good, bro. I got a lot done. Had some challenges, but I overcame them, so I'm happy about that. That's just a general like different perspective. You know, you need someone that's
Hmm.
always looking for the positive in something.
Of course, of course. And then on the community side of things, just jumping back on that,
Yeah.
how important has that been along your journey?
It's been very important, man. I mean, having connection, having people around you is literally a fundamental aspect to life. And I
Hmm.
do feel like if you're building something and you have no one around you, it's going to feel very empty and it's going to feel very pointless. So
Hmm.
you won't be able to even enjoy the fruits of your labor. Because cool, you might buy yourself a cool watch, a nice car, good apartment, but it all comes down to the people that you have around you on the end of the day. I think a lot of people get a bit too invested in networking, and I feel like if it's your business, to network with people, to get clients and stuff like that, then by all means, go for it. Consider that working. But I'm at also the point in my life where, dude, I'm focused on ecom. I have the people around me that I love. And I'm only really going to be too focused on networking with someone if I know that, for one, they're providing a really positive impact on my life, which I can gauge really quickly. Or for two, they're teaching me a lot about my business, which I know is also going to impact the rest of my life. So I'm really focused on networking with guys that are in ecom that are doing better than me so that I can learn from them and we can grow together.
And have you joined any masterminds? Have you attended any masterminds?
Yeah, I was actually at a mastermind earlier on in this year with
Hmm.
a guy called Vince. He put it together. He runs some amazing DDC brands, and that was insane, bro. I was the smallest fish in the room. It was the most expensive mastermind I've ever paid for, and it really just expanded my mind, and I learned a lot as well.
Sure.
Give me
How
one second.
important?
I got some
Mhm.
light shining through here, so I'm just gonna put the curtain up.
No problem, bro.
Cool, cool, cool.
Cool. Cool. Let's go. So, how important? Like, what was the biggest takeaway that you had from that entire mastermind?
To think bigger. That was
Did you
it, bro.
think? Hmm.
Like that was the main takeaway, to think bigger about my goals, think bigger about what is achievable. There were guys that were maybe 2 years older than me doing $100 million a year. And at that point I was
Yeah.
sitting on like 1/10 of that, like
Hmm.
not even like 1/100th of that at that point in time. So the biggest takeaway was genuinely to think bigger, bro. It goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like you need to
Mm-hmm.
see that shit to really conceptualize it. And while seeing it on your phone when you're scrolling is good, but
Mm-hmm.
bro, you've watched movies on your phone, you've played video games on your phone. Like you can see it, right? But there's no really way for your brain to decipher between what you're seeing on a screen, even if it's a real life person, to what you're
Mm-hmm.
seeing in a video game or in a movie. You know, it's literally the exact same receptor in your brain which is being activated. So seeing that shit in real life is so valuable, man.
Course, of course, of course. I mean, think bigger. That is a theme that I know you and I were talking off cam about. Just thinking a lot bigger than you currently are. Do you still like where you're at? And like, let's say you get to wherever you want to get to into the future. Do you still think that there's still a lot more to achieve, like as life goes on? More so thinking of it like, no matter what stage you're at, there's always that thing that you can always think bigger, and through that ultimately pushes you to continue going. Do you think that's true, and if not, why?
Yes, I 100% think that's true, bro. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that you need to be able to shift your goals as well because you
Mm-hmm.
gain a lot of perspective, especially when you start making more money. I think a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people wake up one day and they think they want to make $100 million, but they don't even truly know why. And maybe they have
Mm-hmm.
a reason, right? But then they get to the point where they're making a couple $100,000 a year, maybe $1 million a year. Their life is good. You know, they have everything that they need. They have time freedom, location freedom, whatever it may be. But
Mm-hmm.
they still want to have more because they've drilled that thought and that goal into their brain, which is good. It's
Mm-hmm.
good to be determined, but you also need to know like what's an autonomous goal, what is truly coming from you that you feel is going to give you fulfillment, or what is
Mm-hmm.
coming from a past version of you, or from an idea of what you think you want. At the end of the day, if you're aligned with an old version of you's goal, very good exercise to figure this out. If you're aligned from an old version of you's goal, you're going to feel constant misalignment with what your goal actually is now if you still are identifying with that old version of you's goal. So I 100% thinking big is 100% necessary, but also being able to be flexible with what you're thinking big about. Because at the end of the day, you need progression in your life, but it doesn't just have to be in the form of money. It can be in the form of physique, it can be in the form of, seeing new places in the world, checking new places off your bucket list, getting a deeper relationship with God, getting a deeper relationship with your family, with your girlfriend, whatever it may be. That's still a way to think big, you know? You can literally think big about your relationship. I want to have a wife where I am so deeply in love with her that I would do anything for her. That's a way of thinking like big about that, because a lot of people have service level love. I'm just using that as an example. I want to become Mr. Olympia in my physique. Now, you don't have to actually get to the point where you're Mr. Olympia, but if that is your goal, you're going to wake up and you're going to work so hard every day because realistically, you're so far away from it right now. But if your goal is to just get in shape, what does that actually mean? Like there's no actual destination there. And you know that it's also probably relatively achievable to just get in shape. So you have no urgency on the day to day to make it happen.
Sure, sure. Do you think a lot of people from your experience lack a lot of clarity in terms of what they actually want and defining that?
I do think so, bro. I do think so. And the reason why I think
Mm-hmm.
that is because I've been there, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It all goes back to what I was saying now, identifying with past versions of myself's goals. I only
Mm-hmm.
got into the whole online money thing because I was broke. So that's what drove me in the beginning. I just wanted to
Mm-hmm.
have some money in my bank account. But once I achieved that goal, it's like, okay, are we going to keep just trying to get more money in our bank account? Or we're going to try and focus maxing out all of our other stats, our brain, our knowledge, our action, our energy, our health, so that the money will just flow naturally anyway.
Course. And how important is that for you specifically, that investing in yourself aspect of it?
For what specifically?
Investing in yourself
Yeah, but what is it important for? Like, what are you
for
asking about?
for for your growth, like in ecom and personal development as well. How does investing in yourself play a role into you growing a lot further?
Yeah, I think what you need to understand is that every single situation in your life, whether it's your business, your relationship, your health, your
Hmm.
finances, you are the common denominator. You might think that
Hmm.
things are going wrong in your life. Maybe they are. But look at every single situation that's gone wrong. Who is the common denominator? It's you. So that
Of
means that
course.
you, as a vessel, as an individual, have some things that you probably need to work on. So, because you're the common denominator, if you can just max out the individual that you are in terms of health, wealth, love, happiness, knowledge, and just overall how you're showing up every single day, what do you think is going to start happening when you're the common denominator? That's going to be the reason why it's succeeding over failing.
Of course, of course, of course. And have you had times where you've doubted yourself or been at your lowest point and you've, you know, been at that stage where things aren't working out, but you understand that you're the common denominator that has to change things? And how did you flip the switch around that, if
Yeah.
that
So
did happen?
yeah, that's happened before.
Hmm.
I've had periods where I've almost gone back down to ground zero again, and that happened to me actually towards the end of last year. And I mean, I
Hmm.
would say the most effective thing that I did was that I never accepted that reality for myself. And I had full faith that I was going to make things work. And I know that might sound difficult for people that don't have any faith, but take it as more practical advice because what's going to give you more faith when you're failing? If you start to identify with that version of yourself that is on a downward trajectory that is failing, or if you identify with the version of yourself that is winning and you're on an upward trajectory, right? Or even at least a stagnant trajectory is better than a losing trajectory. So essentially, to give you guys some context with that, is I started going pretty broke towards the end of last year. I was just in I was in budget deficit. I wasn't budgeting my money correctly. I was spending more than I was making, and it ended up leading me to get pretty close to ground zero in terms of the cash that I had liquid in the bank. And the way that I kind of fixed that was I did nothing. I continued spending because I was identifying with the version that was cash flowing, that was living a good life. And things sorted itself out, you know? Even if I did go to zero, at the end of the day, if you got a family, you got a kids, it's a different situation. But I'm a young guy. Worst case scenario, I can go back to my parents' house and I can restart from zero. And I think that is the majority of people that are watching this is that you will have a safety net. You will have something that you can go back on, but it's your pride and it's your ego that's getting in the way, and you're scared of that. So when you're scared of something, you're actually focusing on it again because you don't want to have to go back to your parents' house. You don't want to have to start from ground zero because you don't actually truly bet on yourself, and you're gonna have to walk back in. Oh, sorry, mom, it didn't work out. You know, put your ego aside for a little bit. Believe in yourself in the ups and the downs, so that even if you do have to restart, so what? You'll build that shit up again and you'll get back to it.
Of course. And you're not like I'm just curious around this. You're not scared of ever going back to down to ground zero like from the beginning because you know that you'll make it back no matter what, correct?
Yes, 100%. And I'm also detached from success. Because, like I
Mm-hmm.
said, that shit flows. Money is up and down anyway. So it's like, why would I be attached to a certain like number in my bank account when I know that it's gonna flow anyway? There's gonna be times even when I'm putting hundreds of thousands of dollars into stock for an ecom brand and I got like almost close to zero money in my account. You know?
Mm-hmm.
It's like you gotta be willing to bet on yourself time and time again. If you're scared of going to zero, it probably just means that you don't bet on yourself. Like you don't believe that you'll be able to get yourself off the ground again.
Of
And then
course.
what you need to do is do some character development, get more skills. Don't focus on getting more money, get more skills. Because then if you do go to zero, you have the skill set that's gonna just propel you back up again.
Course. Why do you think that is overlooked, the skill aspect over the money in the bank? I mean, especially for us like young guys, like why do you think our generation basically misses that point in terms of skills versus the money in the bank?
It's an interesting question, man. I think definitely a portion of it is the fact that the money in the bank is the sexy thing. It's the flashy thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's what makes the dopamine spike in the brain when you see the car, the penthouse, the girl, whatever it may be. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like that's what people are attached to because they feel like they need it because they see it
Mm-hmm.
all the time on social media and they have a sense of lack. So I
Mm-hmm.
feel like no one's promoting too much. the skills and stuff like that because it's not going to go viral, and it's not going to get attention, and it's not going to get views. It's also it appears as a difficult thing, you know. Many people are addicted to instant gratification, so it's like they want the money, but realistically, they're not willing to put in the work that it really takes to get those skills. So I would say for the most people, it's like have money as a focus in your life for sure. Have goals, have financial goals, and strive for them every single day. But really, just be detached from it, especially in the beginning. Focus on becoming and really just like internalize what I'm saying right now as well, because it's so easy to overlook. Like really just focus on becoming the person that is worthy of making money. If you envision the most successful people you know, don't look at their money, look at all of the other attributes that they have, their character, how well they speak, the knowledge that they have in their brain. Those are the things that you should be insecure about if you have no money right now. Like what is the vessel that they have that is allowing them to actually make money? And that's where you should start. Because then the money is inevitable.
Of course, bro. I'm gonna like do like 30 seconds of glazing real quick, bro. I love like your mindset and your approach to things. Even the last time, like the couple times that we've spoken, bro, like your approach in terms of mindset and building everything, within yourself before you build it externally, like the way that you approach things, is something that I admire a lot, and I think a lot more people should take that approach of understanding that your mind is the starting point because you're the common denominator, like you said before, of achieving every single thing that you want in your life. And if your mindset is on a downward trajectory, now I'm just like saying what you're saying, then obviously, you're not gonna be the version of yourself that is gonna be spending all this money that they want to, or not even just money, but like getting the skills that you want to get, in your life. And I think that is one of the most important things that needs to be spoken a lot more about, especially in this online space, about just stacking those skills, but most importantly, the mindset aspect of it. I'm curious if you have a different take on that.
Firstly, bro, thank you for the glazing, man. Appreciate it. I love how you yo, bro. I'm just gonna do seconds of glazing. I don't mind,
Of
bro.
course.
Glazing is fun. Thank you. But yeah, man, I mean, I was thinking about it today, literally while I was at the gym, and a lot of what am saying in this podcast is me speaking to my younger self. Like that's why you can probably
Mhm,
tell I'm pretty passionate about it as well, because I've been through these things, and I've been through like just not fucking thinking properly, you know?
mhm,
Um, and one of the things that I was really thinking about today is the difference it's made in my life from taking a piece of advice from someone that's where I want to be and agreeing with it and resonating with it, as opposed to taking the piece of advice, agreeing with it and resonating with it and actually doing it. Like I was stuck in that a lot, bro, where I would take this advice and I'd be like, that's so true. I would literally remember it. I might even tell someone it because I thought it was a cool piece of advice, but I wouldn't actually do it. And I did that lots of times. I can guarantee you that's a lot of people right now. There's nothing wrong with it. Don't beat yourself up about it. You've taken the time to listen to these podcasts. You've taken the time to improve your brain and you've internalized it. But really, the difference in your life is really going to show up when you genuinely do it.
of course. Now you just made me think about something. What is the thing? What if you were to point to one specific or a few things that changed your mindset around, the things that you were doing before and the way that you thought about things till now? What was the one thing or the couple things, if you could point out, that changed the trajectory of your life if you were to look back on it?
You're saying the things that I used to internalize but not do that I now do.
Yes, yes, 100%.
Yeah, for sure. I said this in a podcast the other day, but I would say like the biggest one for me is honestly the most simple one. And
Hmm.
it's really just doing what you know you need to do without fear. Like
Hmm.
there's a lot of the times in life where you know you need to do something, but you're scared of it. You're scared of an outcome that only exists in your brain, and it leads you to never actually doing it. Or maybe you do it. You do it a couple months down the line, and most of the time it was easy, and it wasn't even the outcome that you expect. And you're like, damn, if only I had just done that when I first knew that I needed to do it. I wouldn't have wasted all of this time. I could have been so much further down along this process. I could have been so much further into this journey. Or maybe you started, you take the action, you have that conversation, you realize, damn, there's so much more in front of me, so much more that I need to do now. I've started it, you know? I wish I just started it earlier. Like that's the biggest thing for me. Like if I know I need to do something, I'm having that conversation. You know, like I know that my time is finite. I know that I have a limited time on this planet, and I don't want to waste any of that, bro. Like if I know I need to do something, I'm doing it without fear.
Course, of course. And is one of those things doing things that you have no fear being uncomfortable, like doing the things that makes you uncomfortable, like you mentioned before? And if so, like how are you incorporating that into what you're doing today? What makes you uncomfortable but also forces you to grow that you're doing today?
It's a good question, man. What makes me uncomfortable right now that I'm doing that forces me to grow?
Yeah.
I don't know actually, to be honest, bro. Like I've really trained my mind to like hard things. So like there's a lot of things that I might say are difficult, but they're not necessarily making me uncomfortable, which maybe is something I need to look into. Maybe I need to start doing some more uncomfortable things because it will force me to grow. But in general, I'm just striving on the daily to improve. So whether I'm lifting heavier weights, which is like the most fundamental one, because you can easily measure progress, or I'm showing up as a better CEO for my team, or I'm providing for the people around me, helping my family, taking time to do these small things, you know. Um, Honestly, something that makes me uncomfortable, which I'm really trying to prioritize right now, is being able to switch off from operator mode to friend mode or boyfriend, because I do have a girlfriend and I'm working very difficult. I'm working very hard. So it's easy for me to stay in the flow of being operator, founder. Let's make money. Let's scale this system. Let's scale this brand, you know? So now like stopping that and having a hard stop and then actually giving time and energy to the people around me.
Of course. How complicated is that? Like in terms of the relationship aspect that I mean, you're chasing your goals, but also at the same time, you need to think about the relationships that you have within your life and also growing them as well. I'm sure like that balancing act is not easy at all, especially for you. I'm
Yeah.
curious, like, how do you think about that and like finding a balance in that specific segment, or is it just more so a case that they understand what they're doing, like what you're doing, and they give you that time and space to do what you're doing, but they know that you'll come back for them?
Yeah, for sure, man. I think a lot of people ask this question to people with significant others, and I want to
Mm-hmm.
take a different approach in it because I really do feel that the way that you should handle it comes down to your values. And if you don't know your values, you can either sit and you can write it down or you can do a value test. And what I
Mm-hmm.
found is that my first value is achievement. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
always wanting to achieve, to push for more in all aspects of my life. My second value is benevolence. So that's my environment, the things
Mm-hmm.
like how my space is, my office, but also the people. The people around me are down. It's going to pull me away from my value of achievement. So if I'm trying to work and my girlfriend's in a negative state, because I'm so high on benevolence as well, it's going to naturally pull me away from that. So that is where I have identified that those are my values. So now I just need to set my boundaries around that. You know, I need to say, listen, if I'm working, if I'm focused, please don't come to me with any negative shit. It's gonna pull me away from my work. You know, but afterwards, when I'm not working, then we can sort it out. Because I do care. I do care about it. But I'm just focused on work right now. So that's where you figure out like what your value is and how you can kind of work with it. So I really think like for me, it really just comes down to setting boundaries. Like even if it's not negative, it's if I'm working, if I'm locked in, if I'm in deep work, like don't talk to me. Like I really appreciate it if when I'm working and you see I'm working, just rather don't speak to me, unless it's something super important. That's just me communicating my values and what's gonna make me flow and be better. I think a lot of people are stuck in this thought process of like, ah, it's really hard for me to grind because like I have a girlfriend, you know, and like I got to spend time with her and all of this stuff. Not even out of a place of like moaning, but they feel like they have these obligations. You know, at the end of the day, like if my value is achievement, I'm gonna prioritize that because that's what's gonna make me feel good and that's what's gonna make me show up as a better individual and a better partner to the people around me. If my number one value is benevolence, then maybe I should focus a little bit more on being there for the people around me, giving more time and more energy to it. Because I don't actually really care about achievement as much if achievement is lower on my values. You know, so I'm gonna feel the best. I'm gonna show up the best in my work and in my relationships if I'm showing up, if I'm giving the time and energy that's required to my relationships.
Of
Does that
course.
make sense?
And I mean, 100%, bro. I mean, I just want to get your thoughts. I mean, on people that say, like in the online space, that say you should not do like any relationships. You should just, be in grind mode 24/7, and you should not have, other people distracting you and all of that kind of stuff. I'm curious, how did you like, do you have the similar mindset? Clearly not, but like, how do you kind of block out that noise and focus on who you are internally and your values? Like for example, like you have your partner, you have your family as well, that you ultimately, are still in contact with and just speaking to on a day-to-day basis, and you don't take that approach of just shut everyone out and just focus and just grind and locked in. Do you think that approach is worth it for like people our age to just disregard everything in that aspect and just focus on grind, 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 and that's the only thing that matters? Or is it just more so like a thing that you need to find within yourself?
Yeah. I don't want to regurgitate what I just said, but obviously taking that as the foundation, right?
Hmm.
At the end of the day, where you're putting your energy and what energy is around you is going to directly influence you, especially in prolonged periods of times. Like the energy is just going to flow and you're naturally going to come down to the state of the environment that you're in. So I
Hmm.
would say that if your energy state is pretty high, you know, you're feeling really motivated, you're positive, you're at peace, whatever it may be, then you should probably not be around anyone that's bringing that down. I think that that's the main thing. It's like you don't need to cut everyone off in your life, but if you only have negative people in your life, you're probably better off being alone, especially if your energy state is high, than being with people that are going to bring your energy state down. But if your energy state is low and you have really good people around you that are bringing you up, then you probably shouldn't be alone, you know, because you're just going to sink down to the level like your baseline level. And cool, you might feel like you're more focused, but how sustainable is that focus if you're depressed? You know, how sustainable is that focus if you're in a state of apathy? Like at the end of the day, it's a human fundamental to have community and have love. At the end of the day, you don't feel the love that people show you. You only feel the love that you give out. So if you are completely isolating yourself, you're not going to feel any love because you're not giving any love. You know, so I really think it's nuanced, and I think it's a conversation that people need to have with themselves to find out where they're currently at and what their situation is. Because if you've got great people around you and they're bringing you up, why cut them off? You know, if you've got terrible people around you and they're bringing you down, then yes, you need to cut them off. But look at what like what energy state you're in, and you don't need to cut anyone off. Like even if I'm in a high energy state, I can just temporarily remove myself from these situations because I'm comfortable being alone, and I can come back to them when I'm ready. Like once I've got my work done. And look
Of
at your
course.
values. My value is high on achievement. I'm gonna come back as a better person once I've achieved what I wanted to achieve.
Course, of course. And how important has that, like thinking about it in that terms, and also just looking at it, have you ever had to cut anyone off, and was it something that was difficult for you to do?
Yeah, 100%, man. I have. I actually broke up with my ex-girlfriend simply because, of course, I loved her. That's the reason why I was with her, and I enjoyed her company. But just our values were kind of clashing in the fact that I was really focused on achievement and work, and she needed some more time and energy from me, or at least I felt that way. I'm not going to speak about how she feels, so I only know how feel. I felt that she needed more from me than I was able to give. and was essentially doing her harm because she wasn't happy with the energy I was giving her. It was giving me harm because it was pulling me away from my strong desire to work. And that was around the time when I quit my sales job and I got into ecom. So it's really just about analyzing the situation, you know?
Of course, of course. Now,
And I think
now, now.
compromise is good
Mhm.
as well. But I think you need to be able to compromise in a way that it still is making you your authentic self. Because in certain situations, if you're compromising for someone else's happiness, you have to show up as an inauthentic version of yourself. And at the end of the day, like you're not giving yourself what you need to feel like you. So that is the most disrespectful thing that you can do for yourself. Like, how can anyone else respect you if you're not even respecting who you truly are?
Okay, okay. I agree with that. I agree with that. And for you, like, just to jump back on that front about thinking a lot bigger, do you do you travel, number one, as a method to think a lot bigger and expand your horizons of what is achievable? And how does that play into the overall goal? Like, is there a balance that you find through traveling in specific periods where you need to travel in order to expand your mind, and also times where you need to like lock in, or is that not something that you think about often?
Yeah, bro. I mean, for one, when you're living a monotonous life doing the same thing over and over again, your brain will literally forget it because it has no points of reference to attach to a memory. You know, like
Hmm.
your life will feel way shorter if you're just in the same place doing the same routine for prolonged periods of time because there'll be memories that your brain will filter out, make space for other ones because there's no significance to them. So, firstly, when you travel, it's going to make your lifespan feel a lot longer because you have way more reference points and you're seeing new things, which are on the complete opposite side of monotony. You know, it's not monotonous at all. So, your brain will remember it. So, that's number one, literally just giving yourself an exciting life. Another one is, I know I already mentioned this, but it also comes down to the values. Like a lot of people value freedom, and I value freedom. So because I value that, I do need to play into it to make myself feel better. And I do that obviously by traveling and having location freedom. I also think that traveling, yeah, it completely expands your mind. It gives you perspective, not necessarily to thinking bigger, because that's only if you're going to, expensive countries or countries where that are very affluent and there's a lot of wealth, then you might be inspired to make more money. And I've definitely unlocked that, bro. Like making a couple million rand in South Africa is absolutely nothing if you want to live in a place like Marbella. Like
Really?
it's nothing, bro. Like
Hmm.
that's the type of thing we like, okay, if I truly want to have financial freedom where I can go anywhere and not have to worry about anything, I'm probably gonna have to make a lot more money than I initially anticipated. And that's one thing that I've definitely fathomed and realized. So yeah, definitely can be beneficial for expanding your mind in terms of thinking bigger as well.
Of course. And how do you run your business like just being remote? I'm curious around that on that front. Like how are you able to manage with the different time zones and you have to speak with your team and building the ecom brand? How do you manage all of that while still traveling at the same time?
Yeah, it comes down to a few things, bro. For one, it comes down to doing high leverage stuff, stuff that
Hmm.
genuinely does move the needle. Because if you're doing high leverage stuff, you will find that you're doing less work. And in order
Hmm.
to do high leverage stuff, you need to have leverage for one. And like it goes back to what we're saying about people. So I've got amazing people in place. If I was a sole operator, it would be very difficult for me to enjoy my travels, especially when going to a new place. If I've got a million and one different things to do, I might end up not exploring the place, or I'll end up neglecting my work and exploring the place, and that's likely going to lead to the business declining. So I have the form of leverage in terms of people and team members, and I give into leverage by doing high leverage things myself as well. That's a big realization I had. When I was traveling last year and I went broke, I barely had a team. Like I was doing everything myself. So I was my business's biggest bottleneck. And if I was away from the laptop for one day, nothing got done. And what I have set up now is I have the people in place, and then I'm making sure that if I have limited time, I'm doing the most high leverage things that I can do for that day that are actually going to make an impact on the business.
And just to jump back on that, how do you successfully build an ecom brand, and what are the things that people get wrong about building an ecom brand?
Sure. I think I think a thing that a lot of people get wrong is probably thinking that it's going to be easy. Like I know that that's probably not what a lot of people want to hear, but especially if you're coming into this with no skills, you're going to have to put in an immense amount of work to actually make something extra astronomical, like actually make something a success. Because there's thousands and thousands of people trying to do ecom, and they coming in doing the absolute basics. So you just need to know that you need to do this a lot more properly than someone who is just coming in. And I think a lot of people get way too attached as well. Ecom is kind of the thing, like especially if you're drop shipping in the beginning, you have to be detached. You need to be willing to be like, okay, this ad didn't work, we cut it. Okay, we've tested all of these ads. I'm not sure what we can do next. Maybe we should even look at cutting the product and moving on. A lot of people are like spending all of their money, all of their time on one product or one ad, and it's just not working, and they're just going down, 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 down. Their bank balance is just decreasing, decreasing, decreasing. Where you might be a lot better off cutting your losses and moving on to something else. I'm not saying another business model, but another product or another ad.
Of course, of course. And what are the key metrics that basically show that this is a winning ad?
For sure. I mean, at the end of the day, it all comes down to ROAS. Like if your ROAS is
Hmm.
high, it's a winning ad. But if you're not getting spend, it doesn't really matter what your ROAS is because you haven't even validated that that creative can scale with volume. Like Meta is really going to push spend towards something that has the potential to scale in terms of volume, getting purchases in the door. And that also comes down to even that your ROAS might be not even profitable. Like if an ad is scaling in the ad account, as long as let's say that ad is top of funnel. If it's scaling in the ad account and it's at a undesirable ROAS, so like maybe just break even or just above break even, maybe even sometimes unprofitable, as long as your full campaign is profitable, then you're good because it means that you have all the stages of the funnel that are being hit. At first ad that's getting all of the spend, given it's at a low frequency, meaning it's reaching new people and it's doing prospecting. If that is pulling spend and you have middle of funnel ads, bottom of funnel ads, and they're converting, then you're fine. Because at top of funnel ads, getting everyone into the ecosystem, the middle of funnel and the bottom of funnel are actually converting them and turning them into customers. So I wouldn't look at one individual's ads metrics. I would look at the whole entire funnel, whole entire campaign,
Sure. And
because they all work
what is
together.
okay, okay. And what is the most difficult part of that funnel that you need to, what is the most difficult part in terms of mastering in terms of the funnel? Is it the top of funnel or the middle of funnel or the bottom of funnel?
I would say the top of funnel. Top of funnel is arguably the most important because it's what's actually
Hmm.
getting new customers in the door.
Uh-huh.
Now, you might have a system or you might have a business where you're also prioritizing repeat customers, and that's also when obviously having bottom of funnel and middle of funnel is very, very important. Let's say you're in a subscription business and people have unsubscribed. Of course, you don't want to give them a whole top of funnel explanation, pain point, whatever it may be. They already know all of this stuff. So it also comes down to the nature of your business and kind of the structure that you're running with.
For your specific e-com brands, how are you thinking about basically creating different ad assets or ad campaigns?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it comes down to learnings. So we're making sure
Hmm.
that we are actually learning on our winning ads, but more importantly, our losing ads. Because
Hmm.
what we find is most of the time, like when an ad loses, it's very easy to see like why it didn't do well. And the
Hmm.
majority of the time when an ad wins, yes, we can obviously take aspects from it, which we know of winning aspects. For example, if the hook rate is really high, we know it's a winning hook. But no one really actually knows why a winning ad is a winning ad. Otherwise, you would be able to just replicate it time and time again. And also, you might get learnings from a winning ad, but it's pulling all of the spend in your ad account and making an ad just like that one won't really do anything different because you're not really targeting a different customer avatar. you're just kind of giving Meta the exact same thing to work with. So like it needs to just be completely different or better than the one that is pulling all of the spend, so that it will actually replace the spend, if that makes sense.
True.
What was the question? I lost train of thought.
I was asking, what different ad campaigns are you testing out, and how are you thinking about
How am I thinking
implementing
about
those?
making ads? Right.
Yes,
Asking
yes.
how am I thinking about making ads? Yeah. I mean, a lot of it comes down to volume, right? But
Hmm.
you need to obviously make sure that your quality is in check. So what I would do is I would have a desirable hit rate. And
Hmm.
if we are hitting that hit rate, then we just know that we need to focus on quality and maintaining volume. If we're not hitting our hit rate, then we know that we need to test more ads, make learnings on those ads so that we can get our hit rate higher. But we need to obviously have the volume in the first place to have the learnings. I think a lot of people are like throwing ads in the ad account very willy-nilly, like no structure to it. They don't have KPIs. They don't have specific amount of batches that they want to upload every single day or every single week. And yeah, they kind of just giving Meta fuel only when they see it needs it, like when the campaign starts dying. But the issue with that is that you might have to go through a 2, 3, 4 week testing period of just ads to figure out what's actually going to be a winning ad for your business. So big realization I had early on in this year when my ad campaign started kind of tanking, and I thought maybe my product is dead, you know. But in reality, I just hadn't had a winning ad in a very long time, and I just needed to double down on ad volume so that I could find that new winning ad that's going to revive the product, that's going to hit a new pocket of people, a new customer avatar, whatever it may be. It's like if your brand, like as long as your brand or your product isn't going down on Google Trends and it's going up, means that there's new people coming into the market every single day. And those are people that you can obviously target and they can become your customers.
Of course, of course. And for you, like focusing on ROAS, do you focus on other metrics such as AOV and all of that, or not? Or is that not a key component for what you're building and how you're selling?
Yeah, of course. But in my opinion, like AOV is kind of just a nice little cherry on top. Like at the end of the day,
Hmm.
if your ad isn't converting, then it's not a winning ad. If you got a good ROAS and it's just your base product, great.
Hmm.
Now, if you can find ways to add extras on top of that and make your AOV even higher through cross
Hmm.
sells, upsells, post purchase upsells, whatever it may be, check out upsells. Your ROAS is only going to increase from there. But
True.
I wouldn't try scale a losing ad because I've now added AOV bonuses. If it's not converting where I need it to be, that shouldn't be the main priority.
Course, of course. And what do you think about the mechanisms or the levers that you need to pull? Just taking, the ads part out of it in terms of retention. For example, like setting up your emails correctly in terms of saying someone has a dispute and they want, to basically dispute their chart. Well, not dispute, but basically have questions, and then having the systems down in place to basically increase retention.
For sure. I think a lot of it comes down to just customer experience. If you were to sum
Hmm.
it up into 2 words, it's customer experience. And that
Hmm.
comes down to literally the first interaction that people have with your brand. So the first time that they ever see your ad, they have a perception, they develop a perception. And if you
Hmm.
can maintain a positive perception throughout the whole customer journey, that's when you have a returning customer because they saw the ad, had a positive emotion, they decided to buy, they get the product. If the product is shit, the packaging is underwhelming, if it doesn't feel premium, if they feel like they paid more than what it's worth, they probably won't come back and they won't buy again. But if your ad is good, the customer buys it, they get the product, and they feel like they got a good deal, a killer deal. They feel, damn, this is so premium. I could have paid even more for this. It's crazy how it was so cheap. They're going to be a happy customer. Then they have a complaint. They send an email. They get an answer right away. They have a complaint. There's a problem. The problem gets solved right away. That's when you have a repeat customer. So I think 99% of it, or maybe 90% of it, comes down to customer experience and providing good customer experience. The other 10% comes down to remarketing
True, true.
through
And
emails, getting it, like upselling them, stuff like that.
okay, okay. And for you, do you are you an advocate for, outsourcing doing the ads or in-house? Because I've heard a lot of conversations around that, basically in-house versus outsourcing the ads part of it. What do you see on that front, or what is your take on that?
Yeah, so I personally don't work with any agencies. We've got a team of around 11 right now. Everyone
Mm-hmm.
is in-house, but everyone is incentivized. Everyone is on KPIs and everyone's incentivized to hit those KPIs because they get bonuses. So they have
Mm-hmm.
KPIs in terms of work that they need to do, but then they also get bonuses if they're hitting certain KPIs in terms of performance. We have calls multiple times a week where everyone is aligned on the same vision. Everyone knows that they can grow in the role. And yeah, like I told you, we're building a portfolio of brands. So what I'm really working on right now is building one core team that every time that we introduce another brand into the company, they benefit from it. So they get promoted from junior editor to like senior editor,
See,
and then they can manage a junior editor in the next brand. So there's always potential for growth, and they know that they're going to be compensated fairly for the work that they do for us. So I 100% think that in-house is better, but you need to have the correct systems in place, and you need to be a good leader as well. If I didn't believe that I was a good operator, first thing that I would do is try and become a good operator. But if I didn't even want to, if I wasn't interested in that, then I would outsource to agencies because they have the standard that they uphold. If I don't like them, I can just cut them and get to a new agency. But if I believe that I'm a good operator and a good founder and a good visionary, I can hop on a call with my team members and I can motivate them and I can sell them on the vision and I can genuinely provide them a good experience with our company. And they're motivated and they're loyal and they're full time with us. They understand the brand, they live and breathe the brand. So that's going to provide way better results than an agency that's working on 20 different brands. They've outsourced the work to some, I don't know, some guy that they're paying $3 an hour. I'm not saying that's every agency, but that's a lot of agencies.
course, of course. Dude, I didn't know that it's 11 people that you're working with. I mean, that must be a lot, bro. Like managing 11 team members, I mean, at 21, bro, like I think that is like really, really commendable. And I think you're doing an amazing job on that front, bro. Like, do
Thank you,
you
bro.
do you do you do you often find times where you doubt yourself as a leader, and how do you overcome that?
Yeah, for sure, man. And the majority of my team is also older than me. I would say
Really?
most of them are older than me. I've got maybe one that's the same age as me. So
Hmm.
I wouldn't say that that has been at the forefront of my mind, but maybe subconsciously, like I've felt the need to have to prove myself. I've definitely had issues with that before, and I wouldn't even consider them issues. Maybe challenges is a better word. With feeling the need to prove myself to my team members, especially the ones that are more skilled than me in certain areas. I've got team members that are better than me in certain areas, and that's why they're in that area of expertise. That's why that's the task that they've been tasked with. But at the end of the day, the way that I've kind of worked past that is through realizing that that fear or that feeling that I need approval is a version of myself that I don't want to identify with, and I can kind of detach from that. But I got to kind of do it visually. Every time I visually in my brain, every time I kind of feel like that, I look at that version of myself and I'm saying, okay, that's the boy. That's a boy right there. You know, it's not even putting myself down. It's just if I feel like I need to live up to a certain expectation, that's a boy. I can accept the boy. I can love the boy, and that's Liam. But right now I'm in operator mode. That's Liam. Liam is Liam, but Liam is also operator mode right now. Liam is founder right now, and it's as simple as just tapping into that and just leaving that part of me behind me. Like, thank you. You have your time. You have your place. Maybe when you're the boyfriend, like you can be softer, whatever it may be. But right now we're in operator mode, and that's who we're gonna associate with.
Course, of course, of course. I love that, bro. I love that. And now just jumping a little bit back in terms of, building the e-com brands versus, drop shipping. At what stage do you think, someone needs to transition from drop shipping to now building an e-com brand? And why do you think, or if at all, people jump too soon to building a brand over mastering drop shipping first? Because I would imagine that you'd master drop shipping first and then you transition over to building your own brand. Why do you think most people, if at all, jump too quickly to building their own brand without fully understanding how to basically master the drop shipping aspect and what it takes to basically build, the brand basically through drop shipping at first?
Yeah. So at the end of the day, also for like drop shipping is only the fulfillment method. At the end of the day, you're doing e-com. Whether you're shipping
Mm-hmm,
out of the US, out of a Chinese 3PL, you have your own stock, you have your own branding. It's just the
mm-hmm,
fulfillment method that's different. It's the way that your product gets from point A to point B. It's a bit different. So
mm-hmm,
the skills that it takes to run an e-com brand, the exact same skills that it takes to run a e-com. I mean, like to just drop ship, like using drop shipping as the fulfillment model. So I think that the only time that people are shooting themselves in the foot with building a brand is when they're putting up all of this money for stock, they're putting up all of this money for um, custom packaging, for custom branding. They're paying 3PL fees. They're holding their stock there. It's costing them money, or even worse, they're shipping it over to the US or to some European country, paying $3,000-4,000 for a stock shipment just gone, where they could also just ship it out of a China 3PL, which is so much more efficient, um, is when they haven't even got proof of concept when they didn't have stock. So it's like, even now, if I'm launching a brand, I'll still drop ship it in the beginning because realistically, like, yes, I back myself, but I also don't know if this is going to scale how I think it's going to scale. So I'd rather just test it first, get proof of concept, and then I'll get a little bit of stock, and then I'll get more stock, and I'll get more stock, and then I'll invest in custom packaging. I'll probably invest in custom packaging first, and then I'll get more stock, more stock, more stock, more stock as we scale. So I think that there's not really too much risk as long as you manage that risk correctly. Like, do we have proof of concept? Is it a growing audience? Are we going to be able to scale this to the moon? Do we want to prioritize retention? Do we want to, and then obviously that comes down to giving a good customer experience. So we want fast shipping, we want custom packaging. Yes, 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 yes. Okay. Have we made some money already? Do we have capital? Cool. Let's now get some stock.
true, true. Love that. Love that. And what would you say, like, just some final words on that front on the e-com side for anyone just starting out or just experienced or even just, at a higher level that you'd like to connect with? What would you say to them?
Just about e-com in general.
Yeah, just about e-com in general.
For sure, I would say get really stuck into the business. Like, be curious about everything. Even if you're just getting started and you got one sale, two sales, maybe even zero sales, or even
Mm-hmm.
if you're doing $100,000 a day, like always be curious about where you can improve, what you can change, what's the new strategy, what's working on Meta right now, what's a new ad concept we can try, what's a new format we can try. Every day, wake up with, even if you've got nothing on your to-do list, make the to-do list deep research or be curious. Make that your thing on your to-do list and then go through everything. Literally everything. If your conversion rate is 3.5%, how can you take it to 7%? How can you double it? Like, always figure out how you can improve little things, because at the end of the day, if you take conversion rate, for example, let's say your conversion rate is 1.5%. You're getting some sales, it's flowing, but your margins are 10%. You just get your conversion rate to 3% through maybe a few little changes that you make. You split test it. You don't just change it and bet. You split test it. You try and beat the previous performance. You're going to go from having like a brand that's like really slim margins to now having now you're putting a 3% conversion rate. You're getting double the sales just because you changed the conversion rate. Take you from
True.
$10,000 days to $20,000 days just from maybe one change on your website. So just continuously be curious, man. That's what I would say.
True, true. And for yourself, like if you were to watch this video in 10 years from now, what would you want your future self to know about where you're at mentally and also where you are with the business as well today that you'd always want to take with you?
Such a good question, man. I know that when I watch this in a couple of years, I'll probably look back at myself and be like, "Damn, that was a kid. Like he didn't know anything. So much has changed, whatever it may be." I'm sure I'd hopefully look back and be proud of myself for obviously where I was now, but also where I'm gonna be. But yeah, I would say just allow yourself to feel good, bro. Like I know that you have the character where you're gonna keep pushing, you're gonna keep working, and you're gonna keep improving yourself. And even if you haven't made the progress that you would have wanted to make, take a look at why you first initially started and what your definition was of success was, and realistically, you will know that you are extremely successful.
Sure, sure. I mean, bro, I'm super appreciative of you taking the time to bless me with your time, to come on and chat and just, just have some fun, bro. Like, I genuinely learned a lot, and I'm definitely gonna be replaying this a lot into the future because this is one of my favorites, to be honest with you, bro. Like, genuinely.
Hope you don't say that to everyone, man.
No, 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 bro. You can rewatch all of them, bro. This is the first time I've ever
No,
said
no, no,
that.
no. I believe you. Believe you. I'm joking with you. Yeah, dude,
Of
honestly,
course.
thank you so much, dude. Like, I think that, yeah, you're also a very good host. Like I think that that comes down to really bringing out the best in people is obviously because in this situation you're the common denominator. And if you're a good host and you provide a good environment that makes people feel comfortable and makes people feel positive, like I said, they're going to show up as their best self and they're going to be able to really provide like the most impact that they can. So, yeah, I mean, thank you for that, bro. Thank you for having me on. I hope that the people that were watching this enjoyed it and that you can take something from me and Fareed's conversation because I really enjoyed it, bro. And yeah, I'm feeling good right now, so I'm gonna have a great rest of my day, bro. So thank you for this conversation.
Of course, bro, of course. And then where can people find you if they want to reach out or just watch some of your YouTube videos? I know we didn't cover that, but just to give them an insight where to reach you, basically.
For sure, man. So you can reach me on Liam Bradshaw, so LiamBradshw on Instagram. So no A on the shore. And then on YouTube, it's Liam Bradshaw. So my name, one.
Of course, of course. So yeah, bro, like thank you once again. I'm gonna end the recording. So if you guys wanna check out Liam, his links will be the first ones in the description, so you guys can check them out. So yeah, bro, I just wanna say thank you once again. I'm gonna end the recording just now. So yeah, peace.